T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3.
Christine Lagarde said something fascinating. Actually, I thought it was the overlooked part of what she said about Bitcoin. She said something like Bitcoin is kind of an exit valve from the monetary system, right? And if a Bitcoiner said that, we'd all be like cheering her on, be like, yeah, definitely. But she was saying it in a way to suggest that it was a way to opt out of, the kind of ECB monetary doctrine, and that had to be clamped down. They had to close the valve. But we all know it can't be closed. And so Bitcoin does this amazing thing where the price itself is a form of information signaling to the world at large that something terrible is happening, right? So the price is an index on just the awful behavior of central bankers, right? Among other things. So if you see Bitcoin skyrocketing, I'm seeing this percolate through the press. There was an article in Bloomberg recently describing Bitcoin and Tesla price as starting to freak out the Federal Reserve a little bit because it's exposing what they're doing. Because an alternative monetary asset keeps climbing, eventually people are going to wonder about that and wonder what it means, and why is this alternative doing so good? What does that tell us about the existing system, right? So I really like that. And if you think back to when gold was banned, I think gold was banned because the U.S. government, gold was banned in the 30s. The U.S. government had to engage in monetary repression after World War II to basically print away all the debts and reduce the size of those enormous debts that existed in real terms by holding yields low and holding inflation very high or letting it run high. I think central bankers expect now they're going to have to do something similar, keep yields low and let inflation run high. The Fed's kind of signaling that to us. And so I think that's why we're talking about Bitcoin as an exit valve. We hear them discussing it as an exit valve. They want to close that valve so that people have to submit to the monetary repression the same way they closed the gold valve in the 30s. The difference is much harder to confiscate Bitcoin, so I think that's the bad news for the Christine Lagardes of the world. So I thought that I think there's a symmetry there.
Yeah, good. That's a good symmetry point for sure. That comment about it's an escape is like remarkable because every Bitcoiner in the world is like, right on. That's right. You've nailed it. You got it. And a lot of these legislators and policymakers and regulators end up saying stuff that is like a cream pie to the face. Like they don't realize how stupid they are in saying these things. It's obvious they haven't really studied the situation. And it gives me hope because I realize that, my God, we're so early on this. The price is going to go way up. I like the idea that Bitcoin price going up is like you're monetizing the disaster that's going on in the overall economy. And sometimes when Bitcoin goes down, I think it's because for a couple of weeks, people think, well, maybe it's not that bad. And then they realize, you know what, it is that bad. And they start buying Bitcoin again and it hits new all-time highs. And that's going to go on for quite some time. Quick note on the 1930s gold confiscation. So that didn't come after World War II, right? So it's back, I think, as a result of the excess of the 20s. We had the beginning of the Depression. And then this, prompted that response. But let me ask you about another kind of comparison to another country going through another political time. I've asked this to a couple of people, and it seems like you can make a comparison to the Mao's Cultural Revolution, where if people know the history of this, it seems. Oh, is that too much of a stretch in your view?
No, absolutely not. I think that is actually the most apt comparison to explain what's going on now. And it's very interesting that so many Americans, particularly younger Americans, are not familiar with the Cultural Revolution. They've never heard of it. There's not that many good history books on it. But I think it's, look, I'm not saying we're going to experience the same death toll and carnage that we went through in the Chinese Cultural Revolution, but it is so similar in so many ways. I mean, you have universities, you have students basically denouncing administrators and professors at universities and hounding them out. This has been happening over the last decade. And we were told it wasn't going to grow beyond the universities. Well, it did. Because these same attitudes that were just described as being radical, kind of extreme leftist university views eventually percolated and made their way up into corporate America. And now they are expressed through HR and through platform decisions. So that is certainly happening. I think if you look at the fracture in American society, it's also very reminiscent of the Cultural Revolution. You have, you have kids denouncing their parents on social media. They'll post an incriminating Snapchat or TikTok and harvest all of the, the harvest all the goodwill from exposing their parents for having the wrong political opinion. So you literally have family members being turned against each other all the time. I mean, people constantly talk about, oh, I can't go to Thanksgiving because my uncle's a Trump supporter. I can't abide my family anymore. So we see this fracture in society based on this unbelievable polarization, and now it's crossed the realm of just academic fringe university stuff. It's crossed the realm from culture, and now it's being installed in the corporate context, which is maybe even more insidious and more dangerous. But yeah, I think the analogy is completely apt, and it feels chaotic because it is. It's just that we don't have that much violence on the streets yet, at least.